Hi guys, we're on chapter 12, which is services and settlements, and we are almost done because there are 13 chapters. So we're going to start with where services are distributed. So first of all, there are three types of services, and the first type of services are consumer services. The principal purpose of consumer services is to provide services to individual consumers who desire them and can afford to pay for them. And this constitutes nearly 1/2 of all jobs in the U.S. And these are subdivided into four main types of consumer services. The first is retail and wholesale services, then education services, health and social services, and leisure and hospitality. Okay, so if we look at the pie graph here, we see that the consumer services are broken down, and 14.2% are retail and wholesale, 13.6% are health and social, 9.5% are education, and 9% are leisure and hospitality, and then the other 53.7% are other U.S. jobs. The next type of services are business. The principal purpose of these is to facilitate other businesses. So these constitute 1/4 of all jobs in the U.S., and these are subdivided into three main types of business services. There are professional services, financial services, and transportation services. So again, if we look at our pie chart, we see that 11% are professional, 7.4% are transportation and information, and 6.7% are financial. And then the third type of services are public services. And the purpose of these are to provide security and protection for citizens and businesses. And these constitute about 5% of all jobs in the U.S. The workers are divided among various levels of government. For example, the federal government is 1/6 of the public sector employees. The state government is 1/4 of the public sector employees. And the local government makes up 3/5 of public sector employees. So again, if we look at our pie chart for public services, the government workers are 5%, the other services are 4.9%, and other U.S. jobs are 90.1%. Okay, so we have rising and falling service employment. The service sector of the economy has seen nearly all the growth in employment worldwide. The service sector has also been most negatively impacted by the recession. Within business services, jobs have expanded most rapidly in professional services, for example, engineering, management, and law. Within consumer services, the fastest increase has been in the provision of health care. So if we look at this chart, which is on page 433 in your book, what we see are the changes in U.S. employment and that jobs have increased in the service sector. So if you look on the right-hand side of the graph, you see, first of all, this is the tertiary sector of our economy. So remember we had the primary sector, which is where we're doing mining and things like that. And then the tertiary sector is where we're doing things that have more to do with technology and things that are away from actually interacting with like the earth and taking things out of the earth. So in the tertiary sector, we have our public services, consumer services, and our business services. And then on this graph, it shows us specifically within each of those services what jobs those entail. So we have government and other. And then within consumer services, health and private education, leisure and hospitality, retail, wholesale. Then within business, we have professional and business, financial, information, utilities, transportation and warehousing, manufacturing and construction. And then see down here at the bottom, there's that primary sector where we have agriculture and mining. So it shows us as the years have grown, the number of jobs has risen. Okay, so let's look at where consumer services are distributed. Geographers use central place theory to help explain why consumer services follow a regular pattern based on size of settlements, with larger settlements offering not only more consumer services but also more specialized ones. Geographer Walter Christaller proposed the concept of a central place in the 1930s. The market area of a service. A central place is a market center for the exchange of goods and services by people attracted from the surrounding area. It is centrally located to maximize accessibility. So you need to have this place where the center of the market is in the center of where all your people are, so that people can access it more easily. So that's why when you generally think of the downtown area of a city being in the center of that city. A market area or hinterland is the area surrounding a service from which customers are attracted. So all the area around that market or around that central place, that hinterland or market area is the places where people come in order to go to that market. So if you think about people coming to the mall in Lexington, the surrounding area and kind of suburbs that people come from to go to that mall, that is the market area or the hinterland. Okay, so the range and threshold of a market area. The range of a service is the maximum distance people are willing to travel to use it. People will travel short distances for everyday services, for example, groceries and movie rentals. So if I need milk or bread or cheese, I will drive to Kroger in Frankfurt. Very rarely, unless I'm like having a hankering for something, will I drive to Lexington. Now I do love Trader Joe's, but unless it's something very specific that I want from Trader Joe's or Good Foods, something like that, or if I'm in Lexington, very rarely will I do that. However, people travel greater distances for services offered exclusively in specific places like concerts and professional sporting events. So when I needed to buy a new mattress, I drove to IKEA, and I was willing to drive farther because I wanted that specific mattress from that specific company for the price and the quality. So I will only travel a short distance for an everyday item or everyday service, but I will travel a greater distance for something exclusive. So the threshold, so that's the range. The threshold of a service is the minimum number of people needed to support that service. So service providers determine the suitability of a service center by overlaying the range of potential customers to its threshold. So IKEA is not going to make it if, only I am willing to drive to Cincinnati to go to IKEA. But they look at the surrounding area. They know that people are going to drive from Indianapolis, they're going to drive from Lexington, they're going to drive from Columbus, they're going to drive from all the places in between, and they're all going to come to Cincinnati to that IKEA. So that is the threshold, the minimum number of people needed to support that service. And so they know, they know that all those people are going to come to that area. Hold on here, there's this little light bulb on. Can I turn that light bulb off? Let's see what happens. There we go. Took off that little gleaming place. Okay. They know that all those people are willing to come, and so they know that IKEA will be able to stay afloat because of all those people. Now, let's say someone decides to build an IKEA in Lexington, which I have heard rumors of. That is going to hurt the business of the IKEA in Cincinnati. So what IKEA will have to do before they build that another IKEA in Lexington is determine if the threshold is high enough in Lexington to continue to pull enough people to Cincinnati and pull more people to Lexington from, for example, places in West Virginia and North Carolina and Tennessee. Okay. So this is how central place theory works, and I apologize, I can't remember who presented on this, but they did a great job. And so if we look, I think I remember, but I don't want to say the wrong person. If we look, our big cities are, I'm going to zoom. Our big cities are these places right here that have a ring. And the ring is blue and then light blue, or blue and yellow and red and yellow. So it's a huge ring, and it is surrounded by multiple hexagons. Then our towns are here. Our villages are here. Here. And our hamlets are just these blue dots. Okay, so we have, hold on, we have these areas getting smaller as we move in. So let me read the little caption here. It says, according to central place theory, market areas are arranged in a regular pattern. Larger market areas based in larger settlements are fewer in number and farther apart from each other than smaller market areas and settlements. However, larger settlements also provide goods and services with smaller market areas. Consequently, larger settlements have both larger and smaller market areas drawn around them. So you're going to have these larger market areas, your big cities like Louisville, Lexington, Columbus, Nashville, places like that. Then you're going to have towns. So let's say, I think I would call Frankfort a town, Georgetown a town. What are some other towns? Versailles is a town. And then we're going to have villages. I think, I'm trying to decide if like, which places are villages. Like, maybe Harrodsburg is a village. Okay, so that would be good. Like Harrodsburg is a village, and then a hamlet is even smaller than that. So like with outside of Harrodsburg, there's a place called oh, I can't believe I don't remember it anymore. Well, for example, outside of Danville, there's Perryville, and Perryville is like, you know, you drive through that one street, and oh, there's Perryville, where the Battle of Perryville was. Oh, what is it called outside Harrisburg? I can't believe it. It's, oh, Salvisa. The first time I was there, I called it Salvisa, and people were like, oh, you don't know these things. I'm like, well, I'm not from here. I don't know. So anyway, so there, you know, when you're in Lexington, you can get not everything you ever wanted, but you can get lots of things. Now, when you're in a town, like let's say you're in Frankfort, you can get, you know, your groceries, you can go to the movies, but you can't see all the movies. You can't see, you know, some of the like B movies, the foreign films that you want to see. Now, let's say you're in the village. Maybe the village, maybe they have a movie theater, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have a bowling alley. Maybe they have a little kind of general store. Maybe they have a grocery store, but it's not great. And then your hamlet might not even have a gas station. They might have a stoplight, but maybe just one. Okay, so let's look at the hierarchy of consumer services. Only consumer services that have small thresholds, short ranges, and small market areas are found in small settlements. Larger settlements provide consumer services that have larger thresholds, ranges, and market areas. So that makes sense, right? Developed countries have numerous small settlements with small thresholds and ranges, and far fewer large settlements with large thresholds and ranges. Okay, the nesting of services and settlements. So the central place theory posits that market areas across a developed country would be shaped as a series of hexagons of various sizes, unless interrupted by physical features, so rivers, mountains, canyons, things like that. And so the reason we have these hexagons rather than circles is because the hexagons allow places to fit together perfectly, whereas in a circle, things would either have to overlap or there would be gaps. So these 4 different levels of market areas are hamlet, which is the smallest, village, town, and the city, which is the largest, which we just looked at on our little picture there. Okay, so here is a map where we actually see these things happening. Now, we don't live in North Dakota, but it's a good visual. So our city is Minot. I'm assuming it's French. Our small towns are things like Garrison, Kenmar, Stanley, Newtown, Rugby, Harvey, and Bottineau. Our villages are places like Carpio, Harshal, Sawyer, Granville. And our hamlets are Donnybrook, Grano, Max Bass, Russell. So you see how this works. So we have fewer cities, and then more small towns, more villages, and even more hamlets. Okay, so rank size distribution of settlements. Ranking settlements from largest to smallest in many developed countries produces a regular pattern or hierarchy. This is pretty cool, right? So this is called the rank size rule. And it states that the country's nth largest settlement is 1/nth the population of the largest settlement. Okay, so for example, your 5th largest settlement is 1/5 the population of your largest settlement. And you can plot these populations on a logarithmic paper, which produces a straight line. How cool is that, right? There are exceptions. And these exceptions include the presence of what's called a primate city. And this is a city that is more than twice the population of the second ranking settlement. Okay, so this shows the rank size distribution of settlements in the United States and Mexico. So the U.S. is the red line and Mexico is the blue line. And it shows us that the size of settlements follow the rank size rule in the U.S. and then the primate city rule in Mexico. So in Mexico, Mexico City is so large that it changes that rule, or we have the primate city rule. Okay, market area analysis. Service providers believe that the location of a business is the most important factor to its profitability. So you know how you'll hear people say location, location, location. Well, that's true. So the steps to determine the profitability of a location. First, you compute the range. So this is when you find out from residents how willing they are to travel how willing they are to travel a specific amount of time to the potential site of a new store. So if somebody says to me, are you willing to go to Cincinnati to go to IKEA? Yes. Are you willing to go to Columbus to go to IKEA? Yes. Are you willing to go to Michigan to go to IKEA? No. Would I be willing to go to Nashville to go to IKEA? No. Would I be willing to go to Louisville to go to IKEA? Yes. Compute the threshold. Identify how many patrons are needed to meet the expenses. So if I'm going to say, to open this IKEA, it's going to cost this much money, which means this many people are going to have to come here. From our survey, are that many people going to come here? We're going to draw the market area. So we're going to look at how many people have to come there, and we're going to look at the population around the area of where we're going to put that new store. Are that many people within that radius? Does it meet the threshold in that radius? Now, the gravity model, this is another model, predicts that the optimal location of a service is directly related to the number of people in the area and inversely related to the distance people must travel to access it. So essentially, the best location is the one that minimizes travel for all potential customers. Okay, so let's look at, so the red dots are where the Macy's are. And we see where Dayton is. This is where my cousins live. My cousins are from right here, Oakwood. So this is a department store in Dayton, Ohio. And we see that stores are in areas with higher incomes. So the stores are going to be in areas where people are a little bit more wealthy in order to attract those people that have more wealth. So you see that the areas that are tan, this tan color, darker tan, have a median household income over $50,000. So what they want to do is pull in more people. So they're like, the people that are going to come to a Macy's are people that have a bit more money. And so they are more interested in pulling in the people with more money. So that's why they don't put a store here. They don't put a store here because they want to pull in the people that have more money. And so they're more likely to pull in people from this area where people have a higher median household income. Okay, business services. The hierarchy of business services. All urban settlements provide consumer services, but not every settlement of a given size has the same number and type of business services. Urban settlements tend to specialize in one or a few specific business services. Geographers distinguish 4 levels of urban settlements according to their importance as business service providers. So let's look at business services in global cities. Now, global cities or world cities are at the top of the urban settlement hierarchy. The center of flow of information and capital in the global economy. They are the location of countless large corporation headquarters. And global cities are divided into 3 levels. And these levels are called alpha, beta, and gamma. And then those levels are subdivided based on economic, political, cultural, and infrastructure factors. So, for example, we can have Alpha A++, which would be New York, and Alpha Plus, which would be Chicago. Okay, I'm trying to see if there are any. Okay, so in addition, so the book gives examples. So we have Alpha A++ New York, Alpha Plus Chicago. Then we have so we have 4 alpha cities, 5 alpha minus cities, 11 beta cities, and 17 gamma cities in the United States. Okay, so this shows us that global cities are centers for the provision of services in the global economy. London and New York, the 2 dominant global cities, are ranked as Alpha++. Other Alpha, Beta, and Gamma global cities play somewhat less central roles in the provision of services than the 2 dominant global cities. Cities ranked Alpha++ and Alpha Plus are labeled on the map. So you can see that the largest red dots are Alpha++. Then the next smallest are Alpha Plus. Then they get smaller, Alpha, Alpha minus. Then the purple dots are Beta Plus, Beta, Beta minus. Then the yellow dots are Gamma Plus, Gamma, Gamma minus. Okay, so we went to the world. Now this is in the United States. Again, New York is Alpha++. Then we have Chicago at Alpha+. Let's see, San Francisco and LA are Alpha. Dallas is Alpha minus. Houston is Beta plus. Minneapolis is Beta. Denver is Beta minus. It's hard to differentiate the gammas. I'm gonna say that maybe I'm not gonna guess. Let me see if I have a better. Nope, our map in the book is not labeled better. I'm not gonna guess at the gammas. I'm gonna make that a mystery. Okay, business services in developing countries. Some businesses locate in developing countries because they tend to offer supportive laws, weak regulations, and low-wage workers. It's happy all around there. Offshore financials. So some of these, primarily, there are two main types of business services offered in developing countries. And the first is offshore financial services. Of those financial services, there are taxes. So tax breaks include little to no taxes on income, profits, and capital gains. And the second thing is privacy. So bank secrecy laws can help individuals and businesses evade disclosure in their home countries. And we know this has recently come up in the Panama Papers, so this is kind of an interesting current event. So this shows us some offshore financial service centers. The dark purple are dependencies of the United Kingdom. The lighter purple are dependencies of other countries, and the yellow are independent microstates, and the orangey red are other independent countries. So these are offshore financial service centers, which include microstates and dependencies of other countries. So there are also business processing outsourcing. These are back office functions such as insurance claims processing, payroll management, transcription work, and other routine clerical activities, which can be performed at a lower cost if they are performed by workers in developing countries. Developing countries with large labor force fluent in English are relatively more attractive to firms seeking a place to outsource some of their routine work. And a good movie for us to watch is a movie Outsourced. And also there is an episode of the show 30 Days about outsourcing, which is really good as well. Well, I'll tell you about it later. Okay, so this shows you a call center. So this would be an ad for someone in India to get hired to work in a call center. And if any of you have called somewhere, like whenever I call AT&T, I can tell I'm speaking to someone in India. And if you watch the movie Outsourced, you can see what that kind of the other side of it, what goes on in those call centers. Okay, let me see where we are in our book. Hopefully we're almost done. A settlement's distinctive economic structure derives from the basic industries, which export primarily to consumers outside the settlement. Non-basic industries are enterprises whose customers live in the same country, essentially. In the same community, essentially. Consumer services. Hold on, I read that wrong. Non-basic industries are enterprises whose consumers live in the same community. Essentially, consumer services. A community's unique collection of basic industries defines its economic base. Economic base of a post-industrial society, such as the U.S., are in business, consumer, or public services. For example, computing and data processing services like Boston. Okay, so this map shows us cities that specialize in different economic activities. So for the primary sector, we have in Washington some mining. We have in the secondary sector some construction and lots of manufacturing. Those are durable goods. Then we have manufacturing of non-durable goods. And then we have the retail trade, wholesale goods, personal services, finance, transportation, and public services. So the bell just rang, so I'm going to stop there. Ah, perfect. Right at the end. Okay, and I'll actually see you guys.